Hello, it looks like we're live. Nice to see some of you here already. So if you're watching this recorded, skip about 10 minutes. I'm usually a little early and I say hello to everyone. Long Lived Coins is here. Uh, Jake's Custom Parts. Dutch Libertarian says hello, Maneko64 and all the other guys. Jillian B says evening, Mario and Rudy. Yeah, there's Rudy. He had a haircut earlier this week. I had a haircut the same day, actually. His was much more expensive than mine, I can tell you that. Hio Silver says hi, Mario from Dudley. Evola sunglasses. Can you see Mario? Can see you, Mario. Okay, great. Sound is good. Dutch Libertarian. Hi, Dutch Libertarian. Rob B. Quadman 72. Guten Abend, Quadman 72. Rudolph is doing well. Yeah, Anonymous, I'm feeling better. Next Friday, I'm gonna go to the golf club for the first time in a while, just to hit balls on the driving range. Even my wife wants to come. She wants to make sure I'm okay. And then we're gonna have some lunch. And maybe the after next week I'll start going and maybe playing 9 holes. Yeah, that's what I was told by the doctor. I had to wait really about 2 months to do that kind of exercise. Paul Dockery from California, or could be Canada, I guess. Mark Lyron or Lyron from Brighton, and Durarama says hello from Quebec. Lynn Pearson, hi Lynn. Pablo Pina. Uh, Oro Lobo, Golden Wolf, or yeah, says salute and cheers to all stackers from Queens, New York. I've got an old mug here. It's a Billy says snore on and keep stacking. You all remember Billy, or some of you might not. Billy unfortunately died in December 2022, and we've got Rudy now. I have some coffee. Yeah, I just wanted to ask you guys if you're here and you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to the channel. I know the channel's gone over 101,000, but in the last few days it's slowed down. That's the way YouTube and Google go, though. Just have to keep going. Zabinator is here. DD Prepper from Texas. Steve Hall. Vicky Aussie. I guess she's in Australia. Hi, Vicky. Brian Cutzinger says hello, everybody. Dutch Libertarian, nice to hear. Good news. Good. Yeah, the health is getting better. Still a bit painful here. Like it was an open heart surgery, but there's a scar on this side, the keyhole. Still a bit sore, but that will go away eventually. Rich Tugas from Montreal or Montreal, as he would say it, Dutch Libertarian. Sorry, I saw that already. Jiru the Voice from The Hague. My wife, no, she likes to stay in the back, she doesn't like to get involved. Well, she does a lot, of course, but yeah, she doesn't want to come on. That's her, you know, priority. Maybe one day she'll change her mind. She doesn't like social media too much, really. She's never really, the only thing she does is watch YouTube or and use WhatsApp. She's never had Facebook or anything, which is probably a good thing. Felix the Cat 69 from Austin, Texas. Darren Smith says spare a dime. Anonymous didn't know Billy had passed away. Yeah, he did. He was 14 and a half, and he was relatively healthy uh, up until the end. But then the last 10 days or week of his life, he just really deteriorated really badly. He wouldn't sleep, he wouldn't eat, he couldn't walk. And yeah, and he passed away, unfortunately. 6 a.m. in Australia. I assume maybe that's in the east coast of Australia. Joe from New Jersey. Anton Spoji from Bratislava, Slovakia. Yeah, that was your prime minister was there was an assassination attempt a week or two ago. Fico, wasn't it? He survived, I guess. Oh, Bitcoiners here. Thank you for that message. Michael Kennedy, Luis Garcia from Saragossa in Spain. Good to see people from Spain here too. John Bethia did Rudy inherit Billy's medals? He did, but I took a cut. You know, Rudy had to pay inheritance tax to me. I'm joking. Yeah. Uh, it's all Rudy's anyway. So yeah, the topic today, well, the title for the live stream is A Tale of Two Economies. And I'm going to focus on the US economy, but I think you can say pretty much the same for the UK economy. We'll wait a little long, about 2, 3 minutes to start. Darren Smith, what has the weather been where you are? Uh, yeah, yesterday was very nice. Today it was it rained overnight. It was quite wet and it was quite windy and blustery. There was a bit of sun later on, and then this yeah, in the last 3 hours we had a bit of rain, but now it's stopped, so it hasn't been particularly nice. Oro Lobo, thank you for your super chat. China currently selling silver at 37. Yeah, the premium and the Shanghai futures and the Shanghai gold exchange, because the silver is traded on both exchanges. The Shanghai gold exchange is more of a physical uh, exchange. Yeah, the premium has been quite high versus the New York, London price. I'm not sure because tomorrow is public holiday in the US, Memorial Day, and it's a bank holiday here. It's not Memorial Day, but it happens to be a holiday, bank holiday. Uh, so I'm not sure if the COMEX and the all the futures markets are going to open uh, well, early evening in the US, 6 p.m. Eastern time or 11 p.m. London. We'll have to see. I have a feeling it might open. Europe, the continent is all open, but I think it's going to be a very quiet day tomorrow. Cranston Blythe from Boston. Yeah, I've been to Boston a few times many years ago. Had a really good friend there. Haven't seen him in a while. Analog Shop from upstate New York. Brady Girding is here. So who else is here? Dilwyn Roberts, North Wales. He's a regular. Valencia 777. I'm well, thank you. I hope you're well as well. Christina McKinney, try the notebooking method. Scott, write down the main ideas of each book in a separate notebook for each book. Uh, Cranston Blythe, will silver continue to rise? I think so. I think both silver and gold are going to continue to rise, but it's more it's more the currencies that are dropping. Silver got up to 32.50 recently. It's corrected last week, back down to just above 30, which is like where we broke out of. Who knows? It could break below 30 again. But I'm not concerned. As many of you know, I've been buying gold and silver and following the precious metals since 2002. For me, this is like a long-term thing. It's a way of saving for uh, later on in life, uh, saving for my family, when I'm gone as well. I think it's important, yeah, to just keep stacking. Um, I find, yeah, we do look at the prices and stuff because I was involved in the financial markets and I like looking at technical analysis. But gold is more and silver are really more important than just trading. They are an insurance and survival instruments for what's coming. And what's coming is not going to be good. It's going to be pretty bad. And let's start looking because at what the title of the live stream said, the a tale of two economies, employment and credit showing signs of weakness. So let's look at the credit situation. And I saw this article yesterday in the FT, and I know the FT is a globalist organization. Many of you have seen this editorial from the FT where they denigrate gold about 20 years ago, but sometimes you need to know what the enemy is thinking about. But this is interesting here. So by credit, I mean US high grade borrowers. So, and it says more US high grade borrowers at risk of downgrade as the economy slows. Proportion of investment grade companies at risk of falling to junk now exceeds those likely to be upgraded. And that's why interest rates and bond yields are so important. And yeah, I think like the longer term treasury yields, they don't really want to go down and they can't go down because it looks like the Fed is going to be find it more and more difficult to really cut rates this year. I think market expectations went from 4 cuts this year, and now the first cut is only expected in December. So, and these borrowers, when Uncle Sam cost of financing goes up, everyone else's goes up. So it says more triple B bonds are on negative outlook than positive. And then the triple B are here. So they've gone over the ones that are on positive watch, the ones that are on negative watch. And yeah, that's the first time since like 2021. And we know what happened in 2021. This is what happens in recessions. Um, just wanted to show you as well. So triple B is really like the last place for investment grade. So if you drop from a notch from triple B, or that's Standard and Poor's and Moody's, if you drop from BA or from BAA to, if you drop a notch, you become junk. And the problem with that is that the cost of servicing your debt goes up. Um, if you have debt come due, a corporation, you might not be able to finance it. You could go bankrupt, or you might have to fire a lot of people, your employees. And so I'm gonna stop sharing here and see if you guys have any questions. And then we're gonna look at the part about the employment situation, how how it's going. So let me stop sharing and see if you guys have any questions. Pablo Pina, Dan Sarabia. Dylan Roberts, Trump says no CBDC, and he's pro Bitcoin. Yeah, I mean, I think I saw a clip where he said that. I think at the Libertarian Convention, but Libertarian Party. But and I'm not. I really don't care too much about politics because I think it's just a major distraction. I think we should all focus on ourselves and doing the best we can for ourselves and our families and the community. I think it's really a waste of time, and you might not agree with me, but yeah, Trump can say whatever he wants. He said he was gonna close down the WHO, but no one noticed that he said that like in 2020, beginning of 2020. But if you read the small print, it was only going to be done in 2021. So, he didn't get reelected. So WHO is still around. So I wouldn't hold my breath with Donald Trump's promises. Yeah, just keep stacking and be your own central banker and don't depend on Donald Trump or whatever person or Rishi Sunak or Keir Starmer. Those guys, none of them are looking after your interest. Uh, and I guess I'm going to get a lot of thumbs down for saying that. Truth teller. Uh, Henrik Zayberg recently stated in an interview that if the stock market lapses, then gold will fall to 1300. Any comments? I don't think it's scary. No, it's weird. It's ironic because I'm going to use one of this guy, Zayberg, because I think last year he was saying gold was going to 700. So he's been wrong. And I'm not too sure he's going to be right on the stock market. But even if the stock market were to crash, let's say if the Dow, I don't know where he's looking at the Dow, but if it's going to drop to 20,000 or something, uh, I think that guy has been wrong about gold. And I don't think the powers that be, the central banks, want to let the stock market collapse. We could see a correction, but I think technically gold now is going a lot higher, and so silver. But I did nick something he posted though on on Twitter. Actually, this guy Zayberg. I think he's from Denmark. Uh, and I'm going to share it with you just a second. And this is about the employment situation in the US. And he actually got this from, I think, Business Insider. Recession will strike this year with 21 states flashing red already. Top economists say rising, and this is from Business Insider. Rising unemployment in 21 states points to a recession later this year, Nancy Lazar says. Piper Sandler's top economists flagged stark divides between the rich and poor and big and small. And this is where the tale of two economy comes in because I think one of the reasons Zeberg is going to be wrong is that the US and the UK and the West, we're becoming more and more like third world countries. And there is like a small group of very wealthy people that control all the assets, and the bottom 50 or even sometimes bottom 90% have very little. So um, I think they can keep everything goosed up even if we go into recession, which sounds weird, but that's what happened in Brazil in the 80s, and I remember it well. So they've gone over the unemployment situation, this firm. It's called Piper Piper Sandler's. And I think Mr. Henrik Zeberg used their analysis here, as you can see, the Piper Sandler recession indicator. So apparently, if the 3-month moving average rises above its level from 12 months earlier, it's a recession signal. So it's done that now. And every time that happens, there's a recession here, which is the green line. So it happened here just before 2020, and it's happened now. So it looks like it's a pretty good indicator. So I agree with Henrik Zayberg on that. But why don't I agree with him on the stock market or the price of gold? Well, it's because I think if things start looking shaky, and if we have more geopolitical problems, and by that I mean, who knows, we could have a confrontation with the Chinese. It could get pretty bad vis-a-vis Taiwan, and it looks like it could. Then all bets are off. I think they will use the excuse of national security to start QE again, not just in the US, but in the UK, in the Eurozone. And when that happens, um, yeah, you're going to see the Dow and the Nasdaq go even higher and gold explode. So I think we're in a melt up. So I don't really, but even if the stock market drops 30% and gold and silver, gold drops 10 or 15%, it's all relative. I still, I'm not getting rid of my gold or silver, because the only option here when you do that is to go back into the bank. So would you want to be putting your savings, taking it out of gold and putting it in a bank when everything's collapsing and crashing? I think people like Mr. Zayberg, and I haven't really listened to him. I don't know much about him. He's a little bit like what's his name? There's a guy who's been calling for a crash for years, and also he's been calling for gold to go to 700. I'll remember his name soon. You might remember it. Uh, they forget that we're not like in the early 30s where the dollar is actually gold. And they forget that gold is not just a commodity, it's a monetary commodity. And you can't ignore what's happening with the BRICS and the rest of the world, how they're acquiring gold and leaving the dollar. So, yeah, that's why I don't agree with Mr. Zeberg. So maybe you guys can, if you want, ask as many questions as you like. I'll try to answer as many as I can. Yeah, Harry Dent. There you go. He's been calling for 700 gold for many years. He's been calling for a stock market crash. But I actually think the stock market has been crashing, or not crashing, but correcting, and it has been doing it since um, the year 2000. The Dow Gold ratio was at 42 back then, and now the Dow Gold ratio is, well, around 17 or 16, and I think we're going to 1 to 1. So that's the way I see it. And talking about the tale of two economies, this is one of the reasons why, and this is from the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve. So they keep track of this. This is distributional distribution, sorry, of household wealth in the US since 1989. So it's total wealth here. You can do it by assets, but let's do it by total wealth. So, and I've done it by have I done it by dollars? Yeah, I've done it by dollar terms, right? So the bottom 50% is not this blue. It's the yellow here. So look at that. The bottom 50% own 3.6 trillion of all the wealth, which is at 147 trillion. So that's like it's let's do it in percentage, about 2%, I think. Let's have a look. Yeah, 2.5%. So that might be easier to do it with percentage terms. And we'll go back to the dollar terms in a minute. So what I'm trying to say here, yes, people are struggling. I think the bottom 50% and even the people from 50 to 90. But I would say, and if you look here, this is the top 10% from here. Yeah. So they've got 36.6. You add 16.7, that's 453.3. Then you add 13.6. That's like they own like almost 70% of all the wealth, the top 10%. So I think the Federal Reserve, uh, Federal Reserve represents the top 10%, and especially the top 0.1%. Look at that. Top 0.1%. They own 13.6% of the wealth. And since 1989, they've gone up from 10.7. Yes, the bottom 50 has improved from 1% to 2.5%. But let's have a look here. The 50 to 90 was 32.4% in 1989. And now it's 30.6. So that just goes to show that a lot of the wealth is flown to the has flowed to the top. So let's stop sharing. So what I'm trying to say here is that I think yes, there will be probably a recession, and I mean we had a recession in early 22, but they changed the definition of a recession, and I'm sure they'll try to change it now. But yeah, and we might have a correction in the stock market, uh, but I don't think we're going to see a crash, and I think. Yeah, the Fed will use it as an excuse, maybe to cut rates or start QE again. So that's how I see it. Um, Carlos Garcia, RFK Jr., talks about the US debt problem uh, head on, I think you mean. Fed's CBDC, like you, maybe he is the 2024 surprise. We should listen to his opinion. Very interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure, if you go far in the election. Uh, I think he probably would have given Trump a run for his money if the Democrats had picked him instead of Biden. It looks like Biden will be the candidate. But as I said, I don't trust any politician, RFK Jr. Included. Apparently, he said once that his father, RFK Sr., told him you can't trust politicians because they all lie. So there you go. I think we should focus on the monetary situation, economic situation, on whatever you do, because things, there's always opportunities. And the other thing I wanted to say, even if the economy goes into a recession, it doesn't mean to say that you can't do well. But if you're aware there's going to be a recession, you can prepare a little better and even profit from it. And one of the ways to profit, I think, is to have gold and silver. And we've seen this year how people who have gold and silver have done very well. And I'm not saying you should get out of it, but all I'm saying is that it gives you that peace of mind and it keeps your savings from being debased. And hopefully you won't have to use it, but if you do have a rainy day, it will be there. It won't be like inflated away. I kind of agree with Dilwyn Roberts. They will manipulate the figures and deny a recession. The other thing they will do is ramp up fiscal spending even more and the deficits because government spending, government expenditures, they call it now government investment, which is really not honest because governments don't invest. They call that's part of the GDP. So if you're right now, the US is already running a 7% budget deficit. So if we have a recession, that will go up to 10. Uh, Easy. Over here, what time economy just keeps spending inflation, inflation, inflation. Um, Clifton Murphy, Basel 3 versus US dollar as tier one asset. Is this the reason central banks reclassified? They're now buying gold. No, I don't think central banks are buying gold because of the tier one change, Basel. It's not a tier one change. All it says is that gold will be calculated in the tier one asset. Well, not tier one. Gold isn't a tier one asset. Gold can be used uh, to be part of the calculation for tier one capital for the banks. And that's for like private banks, commercial banks. It's got nothing to do with central banks, really. So I think the reason central banks like China and others are buying gold is not because of Basel III, but because they want an alternative to the dollar. And they know that the dollar is going to be devalued even more. They're just like us. They have, well, a lot more reserves than we do, but they're trying to diversify away from fiat currency, not just dollars, but euros and even pounds. And they're buying physical gold, especially yen as well, because yen is a fairly big reserve currency, I would say. So no, I don't think Basel III has anything to do with why gold's going up. I think over here mentioned wartime economy. Yeah, that's the other thing that they could use to cover a lot of failures uh, of the economy, of the banking system, the financial sector. They will saber rattle. I'm here in the UK. The Prime Minister, his first campaign promise has been to institute national service, military service for 18-year-olds. They're really ramping up the war drums, and that gives them an excuse to spend more, to put more into defense. That means more government spending, and they could use the excuse, as I said earlier, of national security to do QE. Um, and the 2% CPI or inflation target, as they call it, that's not relevant when you've got uh, a boogeyman, uh, China and Russia knocking on the door, right? And of course, I'm joking, but that's the way they're playing this game. Fox Mongoose If the gold and silver price did crash temporarily, do you think most sellers would disappear until the price corrects upwards? You mean, I don't know what you mean. I mean, um, the gold and silver price crash, that would be more related to the paper market because I think there's a lot of demand for physical gold. But I, I think what you mean is if we had a crash, like let's say in 2008, after we reached 1,000, it dropped to like 680. Um, it was really hard to get physical gold. I remember it well. I was still in the city, but me and a few other colleagues, and there are very few who wanted to buy gold, we couldn't get it. But if and the premium was like 10, 15%. But to be honest, I could be wrong, but I'm going to show you guys a chart and why I think gold is not going to crash. And the other thing I would say is that the public, especially in the West, they have no clue about what gold and silver are doing. So it's still, in my opinion, early days. Uh, and yeah, I don't think there's, how can I say, yeah, I don't think there's any euphoria. I would say cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin are much more of a, well, I don't think gold is a bubble. I think the fiat currencies are a bubble. But this is a chart that I wanted to show you here. Where is it? I'm gonna put it, and I know technical analysis sometimes doesn't work, but I think this chart, when you break old highs, it's very significant. So let me enlarge this, and I'm gonna share it with you. Um, okay, so here we go. This is the gold price going back all the way to, well, let's see here, January 1970. So, of course, we were trading at $35 an ounce. And then Nixon, of course, in August, where are we? In 1971. Yeah, by August of 1971, the international price had risen above 35, so Nixon had to close the gold window. So this is how far back this chart goes. So let's look at the first move up. Gold went up to almost $200 from 35. Then it corrected. It was a big correction. It corrected almost back, 50% down to around 100. And then it took a few years, and it finally broke that 200 level here in July 78. It went almost straight up here, as you can see, to 244. And then it came back down, and they retested that 200 level. And I bet you a lot of people at the time were saying, "Oh, gold is going to crash because it failed." No, I think it was just retesting that, and then it went back up. And then it was, all the way to almost 900, 861. They have it here. I think the high intraday in January 1980 was 887. And then it corrected. It crashed here kind of quite a bit. And then it tried to go back up and it failed. And we were in this bear market for like 20 years. Uh, and the key here was that it never was able to make a new high up until, of course, where was it? In 2008, of course, we broke 800 and went to 1,000. Um, and then we had that correction I was talking about during the Lehman crash. And then they announced QE and it went almost to 2000, 1920, and 2011. And I would say that up until recently, even though We've broken above 2000 here in 2020, in 2022. We hadn't really broken out of this high. So a lot of people are still thinking that we were in this situation here from 1980, that we were never going to be able to make a new high like we did here eventually. But now, if you look at this chart, yes, gold has corrected here, but I think it's very significant that we've broken this area here, the high from 2011 and these highs as well. So actually, yeah, we could go back down to 2070. That could still happen, just like we saw here. You see, when we broke out, it came back down to test this level just below 200. But I think we're on our way higher, and this is a logarithmic chart. So that's how I see it. I don't see it crashing. The only way I guess I would see it crashing is yeah, is if there was peace in the world, if politicians became honest again, if budget deficits became budget surpluses, if the general public went from wanting everything for free, I'm not saying everyone, but a big majority wanting everything for free to actually saying no, stop the taxation, leave us alone, give us sound money again. And if we saw the Fed saying we're going to let rates go to double digits to cleanse everything, yeah, then maybe I would see gold crashing. But do any of you think the world is going to change for the better very quickly? I don't think so. I think the powers that be, the central bankers, the governments, they're going to keep trying to kick this can down the road. And as I showed you the chart of the distribution of wealth in the United States, that's only going to benefit those people who have assets. For us little people, I don't know if you're in the bottom 50 or uh, the top 50 or the 10%, but whatever level of wealth you're under, I think having some gold and silver is a good thing. The other thing that I would say is that you need to try to live within your means, because I think it's going to get um, yeah, it's going to get harder. And it doesn't mean you have to give up on life, but you have to be more discerning. So there you go. A bit of a rant there. Danny Youngblood, if you get skint, I'll buy your sovereigns. Well, we'll see. Darren Smith says we have taxation without representation. Well, yeah, I saw someone saying that in 1776 there was a revolution because they taxed a breakfast drink at 2%, and now they take like 40, 50%, and there's nothing. Yeah, I agree with feel yoga every day, live well below your means, save and invest the rest. I saw a comment as well that rich people, yeah, they don't have to look rich. They don't have to buy the Ferrari or the Lamborghini or look flash. But people who never get rich and make a bit of money, they want to look rich. Those are the people that won't get rich. And it doesn't necessarily, and rich or wealth is, being rich is something, yeah, it's not necessarily having uh, a lot of wealth. It's how free you are to do things and how independent and the fact that if you don't have any debt, um, yeah, I think you're rich. I think you're wealthy because a lot of people out there, Trump included, they're up to here in debt. And if things get bad, credit gets shrinks, shrinks, and I think it will. A lot of people that have a lot of debt, it's going to be like when the tide recedes. There's going to be a lot of people naked out there. I was watching a really good Netflix series. It's French, and I speak French, I understand French, but it has subtitles. But it's about Bernard Tapie, who was quite a big businessman in France in the 80s and 90s. And yeah, he did a lot of debt. And I think when he died a couple of years ago, his wife was left had to pay off all the debt. Well, she didn't pay off all the debt. She only paid part of it. So all his empire and wealth was based on debt, and it collapsed. And I think a lot of people are in the same boat. And I recommend that. I think it's called Class Act. If you go on Netflix or type Tapie, Tapie, it's a really good story. He reminded me a little bit of Trump, even though it's different. Malarkey, thank you for your super chat. Does the end of the West only mean the end of unpegged currency? Um, Fiat currency, I guess. Um, I think I don't know if we're going to get the end of fiat currency. They could keep this game going, albeit the fiat currencies, they might be able to control the inflation before the hyperinflation. They're going to try to kick it down the road. No, I think that's just a symptom of the fall of the West. I don't think the West is going to go away, but it's not going to be as important as it was. I think there's still good things. Um, in the West, we can't really equate uh, people in Europe and in the US with our politicians. I think deep down, the people in the West, Western Europe, and Australia, New Zealand, and United States, Canada are still good people. And I don't think it's the end of the West, but in relative terms, it's going to be a lot less powerful, and that might be a good thing. Why can't we live in peace and like treat the rest of the world like equals? And I think that's all it is. And yeah, fiat currency is just that's what it does. Fiat currency usually it does equate with the downfall of civilizations. Carlos Garcia, the MIB invented Bitcoin, digital gold, called mining digital gold. They're laughing at us gold bugs. Who is MIB? Sorry, I don't know. Carlos, and Bitcoin digital gold, called mining digital gold. Do you mean yeah, I'm not sure what MIB means. If you could clarify that. Pablo Pina, Mary looks like an Aston Martin fellow. No. I think cars, unless you're into classic cars, like really expensive cars, cars are like a waste of money. You buy them, you drive them, you buy a new car, you drive off the car dealership, and it loses already value right off the bat. Men in Black, MIB. Oh yeah, yeah, Bitcoin definitely is like a DARPA creation. And yeah, are they laughing at the gold bugs? Yeah, maybe, but I think some people think that Bitcoin is going to be used as a wealth extraction mechanism. There's going to be millions holding the bag, and a few big whales will they'll get out just before it's time, and they'll probably put a lot of some of their profits into gold and other assets. Silver Task, thank you. Yeah, 101,000 subscribers now. It's ticking up. What do I drive? Oh, we used to have in 2010 we bought a Mercedes M-Class, the SUV, and we had it up until 2022. Yeah, 2022. So we had it for almost 13 years, all paid off, very little mileage. Unfortunately, we had to sell it because of the ULEZ. Couldn't drive it unless you pay 12 pounds 50 a day. So we sold that and we bought a Hyundai Tucson, which is okay. So that's what we got. Nothing fancy, as long as it goes from A to B. My wife is more into the cars than I am. So I could care less what car I drive really, as long as it runs and has some space in the back for me to put my golf clubs. That's what matters. Carlos Garcia, Michael Saylor, yeah, he's an interesting guy. Uh, Over here says you have to spend money to make money. No, I think to make money, you need to create value, be it through whatever you do. Um, uh, I don't really agree with this. I mean, I like Robert Kiyosaki, but I don't think everyone can be a Robert Kiyosaki and borrow to the hilt and create wealth like that. Um, yeah, I think most people, yeah, I think saving, working, or creating value, and by that I don't mean, you have to work. You have to be clever with what you do. Uh, I mean, I worked for like 20 years in the city of London, and I'm glad I'm not there anymore because I used to get up at 5 in the morning to get to the office at 7 and work till 6, and I got home at 7. Yes, I earned well, but now I don't do that anymore. And doing what I do on YouTube and other things, uh, I'm a lot more independent. Don't have to get up as early. I think you need to adapt as well and find ways. But I don't think borrowing is the way to wealth. Uh, I think a lot of people who borrow, just like Tapi, the French guy, and like Trump, Trump has gone bust already before, and he same thing might happen again, and other people. So yeah, I'd rather stay off the debt, um, because that's what they want. They want you to be on a treadmill. Carlos Garcia, don't drive a golf. We call it buggy here in the UK. You call it cart. Um, we walk here in England. We don't drive golf carts like in the US. We still walk. Some people use a buggy at my golf club, and I might have to use it if I'm still not 100%, but hopefully I'll be able to walk. Uh, India Farm, people often talk downside of fiat currencies. How do you think about good and bad things from fiat currency compared to gold standard? Well, fiat currencies historically have always gone to zero. They always become worthless because they're controlled by politicians, and politicians always ruin things. The only good things politicians do is destroy, steal, lie, and kill, and they destroy fiat currencies. But gold has had purchasing power for thousands of years. So the gold standard failed in the early 30s because the banks issued too much credit and debt. And when people wanted their gold back, their money, they couldn't pay them. So the politicians, again, were told by the bankers to basically steal the money from the people. That's what banning the gold standard was. And I would say World War One, World War Two, well, especially World War One, that ruined the gold standard because they abandoned it and started issuing fiat currency, really. So there's no problem with gold, or yeah, there's no problem with gold. There is a problem with the gold standard because politicians control it. But so we don't really need a gold standard. What we need is uh, no legal tender laws, and people who use gold and silver, they might want to use other stuff as money. But what legal tender does is that it allows the government to say what the currency should be. And I think that should be abolished, the fact that they have legal tender. Frank Dattilo, Trump is a blowhard fugazi. Yeah, that's a good one. John Bethia, I couldn't live in London, taxes on everything. So where do you live, John? I might want to move there. No taxes where you live? No, I don't like taxes, but sometimes it's unavoidable. Cro Kroi Kai sounds like Satan. He comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Gold is God's money. Yeah. Andy Brown, I've noticed increasing sentiment towards gold or precious metal backed currencies on X. Do you think Western economies will follow Zimbabwe's ZiG and the possible BRICS currency? Western economies? No, not a chance in hell, I guess. Unless they all collapse and the political system implodes. Yeah, we need like maybe a Soviet collapse. Uh, let's say scenario for the West, and then people will wake up. But it won't come from the current establishment in the West. No way, unfortunately. Valley Dance Radio says, "Come to Florida and don't forget Rudy. He's VIP." Where? Oh, he's just here. Yeah, he's right here behind me. Yeah, he is here. He's just instead of being at the other end of the sofa, he's on the near end there. Chris Conman, thank you for your super chat. Your thoughts on Vale do Rio Doce? That's a Brazilian iron ore company or commodity play. I haven't really looked at the company closely. Of course, it's a huge Brazilian multinational. Yeah, multinational. Yeah, I think I think it's a good play because Brazilian stocks are very undervalued, and Vale, of course, is a commodity play. So yeah, I don't have any, but yeah, it's a good, just like Petrobras or PBR. I think they're good. I'm not sure what they're if they paying a dividend. They might be. history discovered. Do you think having gold ounce bars is in a safe deposit box is a good way to invest? Um, well, having gold is in the current monetary environment that we're in, gold acts like an investment, but gold is just really money. It's sound money and it holds its purchasing power. So it doesn't matter if you have it in 1 ounce bars or in jewelry or in coins. I'm not sure about a safety deposit box. I think you need to, yeah, not at a bank, but yeah, if it's a private vault, you might want to keep some there and some elsewhere. You need to diversify. But the thing about gold is that it's outside the system, the financial system, and there's no counterparty risk. So with a safety deposit box, um, you will be liable to counterparty risk. So I would say, yeah, try to keep some in a safe place. And if you do trust the people who run the safety deposit box, yeah, that's fine. Make sure you get a good cost. And if you are concerned about safety, uh, I'm gonna show you guys again the one of my affiliates, the Dirty Man Safe. So there you go. Bury your treasure, not your fears. Dirty Man Safe. So I recommend you go onto their website and have a look. This is an alternative as well. I'm not saying you should put all your gold and silver and valuables in the Dirty Man Safe, but it's a good way to keep it safe. I'm going to put a link here to, it's below in the description, and you get a 10% discount if you use, yeah, if you use this link. And I think they also give you like a gift, Dirty Man Safe. Billy, Rudy has a right to privacy too. Carlos Garcia, Robert Kiyosaki, cash flow quadrant is perfect for if you don't speculate, plus like real estate, gold and silver. Yeah, I know I haven't really looked at his quadrant or formula, but I think the way I see things is that, and I have read when I was younger books, how to get rich and how to do this and that. But I've come to the conclusion that you have to find your own way. I think there are too many people out there selling how to get rich quick things. And I think, yeah, I'm not too sure that I trust these people because if you're rich and you got rich, why do you need to sell people things? How to get rich. That's the only way I think about it. I think it's more simple. It's more to do with hard work, perseverance, discipline, uh, persistence, and it doesn't mean you're going to get rich. A lot of times you get lucky. So that's the way I see it. But I'm not saying don't look at Robert Kiyosaki. Scoobyism says Vale dividend. Yeah, 11%. That's pretty good. And yeah, I'm sure they have a ADR. And even though it's in Brazil, I think a lot of their earnings are in foreign currency. The dirty Rudy safe. Yeah, Rudy used to like digging in the garden uh, up until recently, but now I think he's grown up. He's stopped that. Hopefully, I haven't spoken too soon. Over here, Mary should be cautious in the final week of this month. In what sense over here? I'm not sure what you mean. Cautious about what? John 14, 6 from the UK. Time or distance. Where's Clive? Uh, well, Clive, he came on last Sunday, but he doesn't come on every Sunday. We do like a chat on Friday, so he was on last Friday, the video that I published. Well, he prefers equities and he likes gold and silver as well, precious metals, because cash is trash. Cash currencies, even the Swiss franc has gone down like 90% in the last 50 years. Holding cash is just for it's just for your bills, I would say, and maybe a little bit for an emergency. So if you can, I wouldn't hold any cash really. If you're just starting out, of course, you have to build a little bit of cash reserves. But uh, in the fiat currency world, cash is always becoming worth less and less. And they're talking here in the UK, oh, we brought the CPI down from 12% to 2 point whatever. But the thing is, the CPI index, that hasn't come down. It's still going up. So even if the CPI is only growing at 2.3%, it's still growing. So, and in the fiat currency system, they can't bring the CPI index down because that brings the whole system down because it's all based on debt. And that's the problem. So we got about 3 minutes. Uh, DJ Jojo, can you explain the central banks lease their gold to the bullion banks to short the futures market, but the US Federal Reserve can't do this by law. They do not hold gold. Thanks. Um, they do it through the BIS. That's how they do it. The BIS does it for them. So, and the BIS is in Basel. It's not in, well, Basel is in Switzerland, but the BIS is a supranational bank. It's above the law. So that's why the BIS is the central bank's bank. They do all the dirty work that the Fed or the New York Fed would normally not be able to do legally. And that's all it is. And yeah, the central banks, they lease their gold to the bullion banks. And the worst thing is that if they lease a ton, the bullion banks will sell 10 tons. They'll leverage it. So that's how they do it. Concerned Texan, what's your opinion investing collectibles? I've been investing in gold and silver, copper after seeing card show. I decided to collect as well. I I started just buying bullion, Krugerrands, sovereigns, and some American bullion and silver as well. And then I got interested in collecting or numismatics. I think it's just as uh, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I really like the numismatic silver coins because there's so many nice coins from all over the world. But it's a small part, I would say, of the gold and silver that I have, but I have a little bit of numismatics. And I think it's really great because you learn a lot about history. Phil yoga every day. Yeah, Bank for International Settlements. Yeah, they do all the dirty work for the central banks. Gundlach says recession is near. It's going to be horrifyingly painful. We'll see. Uh, I already answered Concerned Texan. High Silver, is the housing market going down? Well, it might, but I think it could take a few years. It might happen when bond yields start rising again, and I think it might take about a year and a half or two. But right now, there's still a lot of liquidity in the market, so nominal house prices are still quite elevated, at least here in the UK. But commercial real estate, that's like the Wile E. Coyote cartoons. It's like it's just gone over the cliff, and it's like waiting. You're waiting for it to drop, and I think it will. All right. I think it's time now. So it's 10 o'clock here. We've gone past the hour. So before I go, I'd like to wish you all a great, well, if you're in the US and UK, a nice day off tomorrow. For me, it doesn't really matter bank holidays anymore because I do my stuff whenever I want to. Um, and yeah, have a good Memorial Day tomorrow and bank holiday. And for people all over the rest of the world, have a good Monday. And for those of you who are here who haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do and give me a thumbs up as well. So thanks again, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.